Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back, y'all. So I feel like I'm known for being a ballerina, obviously, also being a model and actress living here in New York. But what I'm also known for is storytelling. And today I really wanted to share the story of how I met my biological mom. Not just how I met her, but how that went, what was it like, what was that entire experience like. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, obviously I'm adopted. And I was actually adopted the day that I was born by my two incredible parents you can see here. Also, when I'm talking through this story and I refer to my parents, I'm referring to my adopted parents simply because they are my parents. However, it can get kind of confusing, so I just kind of wanted to preface with that. So anyway, I had always known that I was adopted, but what I didn't know was like my full adoption story. And the way that my parents decided to tell me that I was adopted was actually really, really cute. So if you guys are familiar with The Jungle Book, the story of The Jungle Book, Mowgli, the little boy, is adopted by the animals in the jungle. And when I was like 2 or 3 years old, as little as I was able to understand like what adoption was, that's when my parents introduced it to me, because my dad had a friend in high school and it was his 18th birthday and graduation, and his parents were literally like, surprise, you're adopted. And flash forward to today, his friend was so mad that he literally enlisted in the military, and like still to this day, I don't think that they've spoken. So when my mom and dad decided to adopt me, mainly my dad was like, okay, listen, we are literally gonna tell her from as little as we possibly can. And I am so thankful that they did that. Also, I'm using these Tarte mascara products and I'm literally obsessed. I also usually use this Anastasia brow pen, like this one, but I was so mad because I went to Ulta the other day to get it and I thought that I got the correct one, but this is like the thinner one. I think that they're like different names. I don't really love the thinner one, but I love the thicker one, but somehow I got them mixed up. So we're stuck with that. So what I've actually been using is this Tartelette in Bloom little eyeshadow palette with this like really thin MAC brush. And that's what I've been using for my eyebrows. And honestly, I don't even know if I'm gonna switch back to like the Anastasia brow pen because I think I prefer that. Anyhow, the Tarte mascara really hits. So anyway, yeah, I always knew that I was adopted, and I'm so freaking grateful that my parents decided to make me know that I was adopted from a very, very young age. Because I feel like I have friends who like didn't find out they were adopted till older, and it's always, in my opinion, kind of like a recipe for disaster, I'm not gonna lie. But granted, every person is different, every family's different, but I just know personally, like, I am so freaking thankful that they did it the way they did. So anyway, I found out my entire like adoption story when I was right before I was 18 years old. So as some of you may know, obviously I'm a ballerina, and I actually moved away to go to a ballet boarding school in high school. So at the time I was living in New York, however, I would have the summers off and I would go back to West Virginia. And this was August of, what was this year? It was when did I turn 17? Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Okay, if I just turned 29 and it's what year is it? 2025. And that means 2015, I was 19. So 2014, okay, 2014 I turned 18. I'm a ballerina, I'm not a mathematician. So anyway, 2014, it was a few weeks before my 18th birthday, and I was back home in West Virginia, and I had always had the desire to meet my birth mom, and not necessarily my birth father. I don't know why, but my birth mom, I just really wanted to meet her. And honestly, I think it was because I didn't know anything about my birth father, nor did I my birth mother, but I feel like in my head, like as a teenager, I was like, well, obviously a woman remembers giving birth to a child. So I don't know, maybe that's where it came from. I think that's where my desire came from, wanting to meet her, because obviously like she remembered me. I didn't know if like my birth father knew literally nothing about me, if they were dating, like what type of situation it was, whatever. So anyhow, I'm at home in West Virginia, and I had a discussion with my parents beforehand, and I was like, hey, when I'm 18 years old, like I want to meet my biological mom. And they had told me that, which is obviously true, that they did my adoption as a closed adoption. So I had a closed adoption, meaning I wasn't allowed to know any information about my birth mother, no contact, nothing like that. So anyhow, I told my parents that I wanted to meet her when I had turned 18. I knew like me turning 18 was approaching, so I was just kind of gonna wait and see like what information like I could find about her. So anyway, I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom and my dad comes in. And he knocks, I said, yeah, you can come in. I will never ever get this image out of my head. He puts one arm like up on like the door frame, and he's standing there and he's like, so her name is blah, blah, blah. I'm never gonna say my birth mother's name just for her privacy. Let's call her Jane Johnson. So he says, her name is Jane Johnson. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, your birth mother, her name is Jane Johnson. And I was like, oh my God. And he was like, your mom has all the other information. We plan on telling you today. When your mom gets off work at like 9 or 10 p.m., she's gonna tell you the full story. And I was like, oh my God. And I just remember there being like a shift, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but I was just like, oh my God, like this is my birth mother. Like this is crazy. My whole life I've always wondered, and they know who she is. Like, I don't know how, I don't know anything, whatever. So the first thing my dad says afterwards was, don't tell anybody. What did I do? I literally ran outside, ran to my parents' like patio, and I called my best friend Abby at the time, and I was like, oh my God, Abby, like, yeah, like I found my birth mother, like blah, 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 blah. And we both were just like freaking out. So anyhow, later that night, my mom comes home and she sits me down in my bedroom again. My bedroom is a very like, I don't know, that's where all the tea was spilled to me. So anyhow, my mom is like, her name is Jane Johnson and blah, 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 blah. And she starts proceeding to tell me how I was adopted through a psychic. And I just remember my mind being completely blown. And I was like, wait, what? Like it was insane. And then my mom hit me with the craziest thing, and she was like, I've been in contact with her all these years, and she wants to know if you would like to meet her within the next few weeks. And I remember just like, I don't know if I cried, but I remember like tearing up and just being like so emotional, because I was like, oh my God, my whole life I've wanted to meet this woman, and like I didn't know if I was gonna have to like hire, what do you call it, like a freaking private investigator, like hire PI, or like what I was gonna have to do. And just in that moment, knowing that like my mom knew my birth mom and like had her contact info and all this stuff, I was just like, it was just like a very, very, very special moment for me. So that happened, and my mom was like, oh yeah, she left me a voicemail the other day. And I remember being like, oh my God, like, can I have it on your phone? And at this time, my mom still had a flip phone. And so she was like, no, like I'm scared you're gonna call her, like anything. And my dad, which my dad knows, they both know me well, but my dad knows me super well. He was like, no, honey, like I think she just wants to hear her voice. And he was right. And all I wanted was to hear my birth mother's voice. And literally I listened to the voicemail, and I was like, I just had like this like out of body experience, and I was like, oh my God, this is my biological mom's like voice. Like, that's so crazy. And so that was like really, really special. And then long story short, we ended up picking a date. We picked the date August 30th. And my birth mother was in Pittsburgh at the time. And we were coming from Morgantown, West Virginia. So we were going to meet halfway in Washington, PA. So I remember that day arrives, and I just was like freaking out. I was so excited, nervous, happy, like all these emotions were like circulating throughout my body. And I remember preparing a list of questions like nights before to ask her, because I feel like there are so many things you don't think of, like as somebody who's not adopted. I feel like for example, when you go to the doctor and they say, oh, what's your medical history? Does breast cancer run in your family? Do your migraines run in your family? Those things, like I would always be like, I don't know, I'm adopted, and like I knew no information. So little things like that really do like kind of like not have an effect on me, but like that's just a question like I hadn't been able to answer my entire life. And meeting my birth mom, I can finally ask her any medical questions and stuff like that. So I created a very, very, very long list of questions to ask her, and then it was time to go. And like I said, we were meeting in a Panera Bread in Washington, PA, and the whole ride I was like so nervous. I was like, what is she gonna look like? Is she tall? Does she have blonde hair, brown hair? Is she this? Is she that? And I was just like freaking out. So I remember we pull up to Panera, my heart is racing. I walk in, it's my mom, my dad, and I. We walk in, and I just look around, and I didn't know what she looked like. So I had no idea like what I was looking for. And so all of a sudden I hear, hey, Evelyn. And then I hear, hey, Jane. And I turn around and I just see my mom and my birth mother hugging, like embracing. Like it was like, oh my God, I'm like choking up, like thinking about it. Oh gosh. Sorry, but they just had the most warming, heartfelt embrace, and they both start like bawling their eyes out. And to me, I was just like, oh my God, like what, this is crazy. And at the time, the angle they were hugging at, like I couldn't really see my birth mother's face, but then when she let go and I saw her, I was like, oh my God. And I just hugged her and I was like, hi, it's so nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. She's still crying. My mom is crying. My dad is like, no, but it's an emotional moment for everybody. So it was like really, really special. But I will say this whole, like my whole life, I always thought when I met my birth mother that I would have this like really dramatic, really like yearning and like, I don't know, this just like crazy connection to her. To be honest, I felt nothing. And I know that's like, might be weird or jarring to say, but I literally felt no emotions towards her. It was like really cool and a really cool experience. And I was like, whoa, you're my birth mom. But honestly, it was just like meeting another human. And that was something that really, really threw me kind of like for a loop, because I thought, again, it would be this whole emotional experience. And it was not. But not to say, I mean, it was freaking amazing. It was lovely. It was wonderful. But it just wasn't the emotional, like, crazy experience that I thought I would have. So We sit down and I start like rolling off the list of questions, and I'm like, okay, so what's your medical history? Do you have asthma? Do you get migraines? Do you have other kids? Why did you give me up for adoption? Blah, 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 blah. And she's answering all of these questions like with such grace and poise, and it was really like something wonderful to see. And as she's answering all of these questions, I'm like studying and analyzing her face. I'm like, okay, like we have the same forehead. We do have like the same like nose shape, but we also kind of don't. We have this, we have that, whatever. And I'm like studying her because if you think about it, if you're not adopted, right, and you grow up like being able to see like, oh, I have my mom's eyes, I have my dad's nose. Like, again, that's another thing I was never able to do, even though I do look exactly like my adopted parents. That's not something I could do. So I just like studying her and looking at her and seeing all the similarities and differences that we have. It was just like something really special. So got to talk to her, got to find out medical history. I got to find out all these things kind of like about me, got to find out that she had 3 kids, why she gave me up for adoption, the story that I'm sure you all are familiar with, the fact that she told her family that I was a stillborn. And at that time, she had not told her friends and family that I exist. There were only 2 people in her life at that time that knew I existed. So it was definitely crazy to hear all this information, but I was just so grateful and so happy that I, you know, am lucky enough to have my mom, who had stayed in contact with her all these years, been able to give me this information. So it was really wonderful. However, the very last thing that was on my list, after I crossed everything else off the list, I said, you know, I had all these questions for you that you answered and that were so lovely. However, the most important thing that I wanted to do here today was to tell you thank you. Thank you for giving me up for adoption. Thank you for being so selfless and such a wonderful birth mother, a wonderful mother, to love me so much, to know that, hey, I can't raise you. I don't have the means or the circumstances or the conditions to raise you. Like, that to me is the most wonderful thing, the best gift anybody could have ever given me, because I'm telling you guys, like, I have the best family on the planet. And I can like get choked up thinking about it, but truly, I'm so freaking blessed, like with my family, with my friends, with my life, with my career, like with my fiance, like just everything. Like every single experience I've had is because my birth mother gave me up for adoption. And I don't think I'll ever be able to be more grateful to a person. Like nobody else can do anything greater than that for me. So I made it very, very, very clear to her. Thank you so much for everything. And for most importantly, giving me to the 2 greatest humans a person can meet and a person can have as, you know, parents. And at that point, that was the first time where I started getting extremely choked up and I started crying. That was emotional because my mom and dad are my mom and dad, and like I can't really explain it, and it might not make sense if you're not adopted, but like I personally just like love my mom and dad so much, and I'm so grateful for them. And I feel like because I'm adopted and because I know that like God chose them to be my parents, like I'm just like so freaking grateful for them. Like it's like absolutely ridiculous how grateful for them I am. So yeah, so it was very sweet, and we all kind of started crying at that point, and it was wonderful. And I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to have met her, and she's such a wonderful woman. And yeah, I have nothing but positive things to say about her. So that was my little chit chat on meeting my birth mother for the first time. We definitely have met other times that have also been amazing. And if y'all want to hear those stories as well, please share that in the comments. And another thing that her and I talked about was my birth father, who I ended up meeting during COVID. That's another crazy story. I intend on making another little chit chat actual get ready with me about that, because that was so phenomenal as well. And I'm just feeling so extremely blessed to have the life that I do. So if y'all want more, y'all want to hear more of those stories, make sure that y'all hit that subscribe button and that y'all are following me at all my socials below, Instagram at Alicia May Holloway _ and TikTok just at Alicia May Holloway. And I'll see y'all next Sunday. Mwah. Bye.